All right, the lesson you've all been waiting for, and it is how to factor trinomials of the form ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay? So there are many different ways to learn how to factor. Some people will teach you Xbox method. Some will do factor by grouping. Some use what's called slip, slide, divide. My preferred method is called California method. Not exactly sure why it's called that, but it is, I have found, and most students have found, the easiest method to factor. Okay? But no matter which method you may have learned in the past, you always start by asking yourself the same two questions. Okay? The first question you say is, what two numbers added together give you the middle term? Okay, so your bx term. And really, we just want the b. Okay, and sort of simultaneously, you say what same two numbers when multiplied give you the product of the first and last terms. Okay? So that's our task. So we're going to start here with example 1. And I always, the first couple you'll see, I have these drawn because that's like my little notation to remind myself of my two questions, and it just gives me space to put my values down. So for this one, I need two numbers that added together to give me 7. But when I multiply them, I get the product of the first and the last. Now, don't forget my x squared is a 1. That will not always be a 1. Okay, for your Keystone exam, it will be a 1. If it's not a 1, that means you are able to factor a GCF out of all terms, just like yesterday's lesson. Okay, so keep that in mind. So 1 times 12 is 12. Now I'm going to list all the factors of 12 in numerical order. So 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. We say, okay, which of those combinations could give me a 7 if I add them or subtract them in some way? Well, my values are 3 and 4. Now I can't put 3 and 4 up here, but 2 and 6 down here. Has to be the same numbers. So now I found them. So I'm going to show you California method because this will work whether there is a 1 as your leading coefficient in front of your squared term or whether it's any number. You simply take your first term, so 1x, technically it's squared, but I'm going to show you how we can shorten that up. And you are going to put, like we're going to create fractions with this. So I'm going to have a 3x in that denominator and a 4x in this denominator. And then we simply simplify our fractions. Well, the only thing that can reduce, and this will happen every time, which is why you will only ever see me do 1x over 3 and 1x over 4, because this x will become 1 and that x will go away every single time. So now I'm left with these fractions. Those fractions cannot be simplified anymore. So that's going to be my two binomials. 1x plus 3 times 1x plus 4. I don't really need the ones, so just x plus 3 times the quantity x plus 4. Okay? I know you're all thinking, oh my gosh, why do we have to do this? Trust me, once you do it several times, it gets easier. All right. I need two numbers that add together to give me my middle term. But when I multiply them, I get the same as the first times the last, so 24. So 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4, and 6, and that is it. So a combination that could give me 10. Now here's the thing. I have 2. I could do 12 minus 2, and that gives me 10, or I could do 4 plus 6, and that will also give me 10. So let's think about it. If I do 12 minus 2, I'm going to write this up here. 12 and a minus 2. I do get a positive 10, but I get a negative 24. So that one doesn't work. So 12 and negative 2 do not work. Okay? So that means 4 and 6. Now, here's the great thing. If your leading coefficient, and again, that is the value in front of your x squared, is just a 1, you are able to go straight to the factored form. So you're able to go right here. And that is x plus 4 times x plus 6. And it's all factored. Now, how do you think you could check this? I know you're all sitting in your head saying, oh, we could FOIL it, Miss Egger. And then once you do that, you would end up getting x squared plus 10x plus 24. All right. Take a moment, try these 2 your turns, and then come back and double check your answers. I gave you guys way too easy ones. All right, now we're getting into some good ones here. So, like I said, the keystones will only ever give you ones where the A value is 1. However, I say that, and then you're going to see questions like example 2, where there's a 3 there. And anytime they do that, that just means you will be able to factor that value out. So looking at 3, 3, and 6, the common factor is 3, so I'm going to factor that out. And that's what I'm left with. So now I'm going to factor the middle out just like normal. Now this is where I'm also going to need a negative value. Okay, even though my factors are 1 and 2, I can make either of them or both of them, if needed, negative values. Not a big deal. So in this case, to get a positive 1, I need to take 2 plus a negative 1, or 2 minus 1. And the other one, I need to do 2 times a negative 1 to get negative 2. So my 3 is just going along for the ride. And then I have x plus 2 times x minus 1. Okay, so take a moment, try that your turn, and come back and double check your answer. All right, the last thing we are doing today is solving. So it's combining the factoring we just did and the zero product property from the day before. Okay, so if we have to solve each trinomial, we solve them by factoring. All right, so There we go. So this becomes x minus 3 times x plus 6, but now it equals 0. Oh, and that looks like the problems we did yesterday. So that means I just set each of them equal to 0 and solve. So x is equal to 3 and x is equal to negative 6. All right, this one is not in the correct form. It's close, but it needs to be x squared minus x minus 20 equals 0. And now we can factor. All right, so take a moment, work on those last two your turns, and then don't forget to check your answers.